Picture this. It's 2022 and I'm burnt out from working two jobs. I'm desperate for a break, so I convince my friend to meet me for a European getaway. We pick Var, Croatia, a beautiful, low-key coastal town where we can decompress. Our only agenda? Eat, drink, and lay by the water. I had no idea that this reset trip would reset my entire life. Just not in the way I expected. So it all started in June of 2022.
Music licensing
I was in a
reimagined.
place in my life where I was working two jobs. I was working like a dog, and I knew I needed a break. So I reached out to my friend who was living in Germany at the time with her husband, and I said, let's take a trip. Let's go somewhere in Europe. And she was so down. And we were trying to decide where we wanted to go. We decided to go to Havrab, Croatia, because we wanted somewhere that was like a cute local town that was by the water, but it wouldn't be as crazy busy as other places in Europe. And so we decided to go to Havana. We flew to Split first, met there, took a ferry over, and at first I was just so amazed at how beautiful this place was. And so the first night, I was a little bit jet lagged, so we kept it very chill. Grabbed dinner, then went back to our
Music
Airbnb.
licensing
And the next
reimagined.
morning when we woke up, we had literally two things on our agenda. And that was to eat and drink and be by the water. And like I said, three things. But yeah, eat, drink, and be by the water. So we went to Hula Hula, which if you've been to Havana, you've been to Hula Hula. It's this beach club that's very well known there, and it's right on the water. And we're laying in day beds kind of off to the side, minding our own business, sipping mojitos. And I look up and I see this very attractive man. And the first thing that came to my mind was, this man looks like he is walking straight out of a Calvin Klein ad. And I'm telling you guys, 6'3", blonde hair, blue eyes, chiseled skin, so tan muscles everywhere. I was definitely taking it back. And I feel like it takes a lot for me to really
Music
double take a
licensing
man just
reimagined.
based on his looks like that. And 100% I was a little bit, just in all, I didn't even realize that he was like with a friend at first. And so I'm still minding my own business, keeping it chill. And he looks over at me and he says, how are the drinks? And I said, the drinks are wonderful, we're just sipping mojitos. He said, should I get us all around? And I said, absolutely. Number one, he's cute. Number two, who wouldn't want a pre-mojito? So I said yes. We got around to drinks and we're sipping our drinks and we just start small talking. And I asked them where they're from. And they say that they're both from Denmark. My ex was living in Copenhagen, and then his friend was living in a smaller town called Aalborg, which is north of Copenhagen.
Music licensing
And that was actually my
reimagined.
ex's hometown, that his friend was still living there. And so we were just small talking the whole time. We didn't really talk about a whole lot of things. It was just like, where are you from? And just basic things. But they're asking us, what's your plan for the rest of the trip? And we told them, we're doing a full day boat excursion tomorrow, and then we're going to dinner tonight at this place called Domino's. And he said, oh, how's the dinner spot? And I was like, I don't know, but I got recommended by a friend to go there. And he was like, okay, well, maybe we'll meet up with you guys again later. And I said, sure. So we're getting a little bit tired, so we decide that it's time for us to leave. And so as we're leaving, I decide to make a bold move and just ask him for his Instagram. And obviously I'm trying to be a little sly. So I asked him and his friend for their Instagrams, and we exchange Instagrams. We get into our taxi to go back to our Airbnb, and we're literally en route to our Airbnb. And I get a DM from him, and he basically said, it was so nice meeting you. Have fun at Dalmatino. Maybe we'll see you guys later. Didn't read anything into it. I just was like, it was fun to just have a conversation with a cute guy. And so we go back to our Airbnb, we get dressed, we get ready for dinner, and we're like on our way to dinner. And he is like messaging me about the restaurant and asking us details about it. I didn't like think anything of it. But we sit down, we're having dinner, we have a spectacular dinner, and we're finishing off the evening with our desserts, aka espresso martinis.
Music
And I'm sipping my drink, and I
reimagined.
look up and I see him and his friend at the restaurant, and they walk up over to us, and I'm like, oh, hey. He's like, yeah, like they're a little booked up, but they said they can like seat us in like 20 minutes. I was like, oh, cool. Well, we're about to be done, but we'll go grab a drink. Maybe we can like meet up later. And he said, okay, sounds good. So it's kind of awkward timing because we were finishing up dinner while they like hadn't even been sat yet. And so we went to a bar across the street and we're grabbing drinks. And I hit a wall and I was like, okay, now I need to go to sleep. And I was super jet lagged. And so I sent him a DM just basically saying, hey, we are so tired. We have a full boat excursion tomorrow. I don't think we're going to stay out much later.
Music
And
licensing
yeah, he was like, that's
reimagined.
totally fine. And so the next day, we wake up, we get on the boat, and I start obviously posting like all my cute photos. Like, remember, I took a photo driving the boat and like, we're just, having fun. And I was like looking at my Instagram story and I see he's like hearting every single story and like he's responded to a couple of them. I am not the type of person that reads very much into activity on social media like that, but it was something that I noticed. And so, we continued on with that for like a day and a half. And then he reaches out to me and he says, hey, like, what are you guys doing? And at this time, it is our last night in Havre. And he said, what are you guys doing tonight? And I
Music
said,
licensing
we don't really have plans
reimagined.
because we didn't. And he said, well, do you guys want to come to dinner with us? And me and my friend were like, absolutely, sure. And she wasn't really down to go. I kind of forced her because I was like, this guy's hot and it's a free dinner. Like, let's just go. It'll be fun. And so she's a good friend. So she came with me. And we get to the restaurant and him and his friend are sitting across from each other. So obviously I took the seat next to him. I'm sitting across from my friend and we're sitting there.
Artlist.io.
We're having a wonderful dinner and drinking tons of wine. And I come up with this idea to play this game where I'm asking his best friend to describe what my ex's type was. And cause we were obviously like vibing with each other and I was just curious. And so his best friend starts listing off everything like
Music
good morals,
licensing
hard worker,
reimagined.
all these things. And like, I felt like he was describing me. And after his friend wasn't talking, my best friend basically said, aside from being a good cook, she checks off every single box. And I remember I looked at him, my ex, and I said, but I will become a great cook for a good man. And he starts laughing. I remember I put my hand on his leg, and that was the first time in my life that I felt that instant electricity from someone's touch.
Artlist.io.
Like it literally felt like I was getting shocked. And we instantly like had this physical attraction towards each other. And we started talking about what we did for work. And I told him that I was working as a real estate agent and in tech. And then he told me
Music
I'm actually chief
licensing
commercial officer for an
reimagined.
ad tech company that does marketing for a real estate company. So I was working in real estate and tech, and he was working in real estate and tech. And everything just like felt like it was aligning. But again, I'm like, this guy lives in Copenhagen. There's nothing that's going to come from this. So after dinner, we go and grab some drinks at a bar nearby. And we grabbed one drink. And they're definitely gearing up to go back out. And it was our last night. And my friend really did not want to go out. And I am not the type of a girl to ever leave my friend for a man. Never in a million years. So I ended up just saying, hey, I think we're going to call it a night and we're going to head out. And he was respectful of that 100%. And I remember we just hugged goodbye and we left, and that was it. And so
Music
we're going back to our
licensing
Airbnb, we're
reimagined.
walking home, and I get a DM from him. And he said, it was so nice meeting you. I hope it's not the last time. Also, South Africa is happening. I can see it. And the reason why he said that was because I was telling him that I had wanted to go to South Africa for that following Christmas and because my family was going to be traveling. And he said, I've always dreamt of going to South Africa. And I jokingly was like, well, you're invited if you want to come. And so whenever he made that comment to me in the DM, I was like, okay, sure. I am not thinking anything of it. Right at this point, whatever. Like this guy lives 5,000 miles away from me. I'm not thinking anything of it. So the next day, my friend goes back to Germany and I go to Barcelona to meet up with some friends. And
Music
again, I'm
licensing
like posting
reimagined.
throughout my trip. And every time I look at my phone, it's like he's DMing me, messaging me, and he's continuing all of this. And I'm just a little bit shocked, but also like very interested still at the same time. And he was remembering things that I told him at dinner. Like, I had told him that I was gonna buy a Chanel bag because I wanted to reward myself for working hard. And he had messaged me and then like, hey, did you get your Chanel bag? And I was literally like drunk off sangrias in my bikini and cover up in the Chanel store when I got that DM. And I sent him a selfie and he said, this is the best photo I've ever seen. I just like felt like I could just be myself with him already. And, we are just getting along and having good conversation. So again, he doesn't even have my phone number at this point. We were literally just flirting through DMs. So I end up leaving Barcelona the next day and I land and he sends me a message and he said, what are you doing this weekend? Do you want to go to Ibiza? And I saw the message and I was like, what? Okay, so he sent me this message saying, you should come to Ibiza this weekend. I'm going with a bunch of friends. And he's like, I'll send you the flight. Everything will be paid for. And I thought about it for a second because, come on, who wouldn't want to go to Ibiza? And then I thought a couple of reasons why I didn't want to go was mainly because I just bought a Chanel bag. So I was like, I want to work and make more money. And also, I felt like this is the type of guy that things come easy for him. And this is not something that's going to be easy for you to obtain. And I didn't want our first weekend to be like just partying together with all of his friends. Like, that's not what I wanted. So I ended up telling him no, but I just ended up saying that I needed to work. And I thought he was never going to talk to me again. But somehow this like lit a fire under him. And he became even more persistent. And he started pursuing me even more. And he was sending me messages like, when are you going to come visit me in Copenhagen? Or, I would love to come to Dallas to come see you. And I was just like, who is this man and what's happening? Still not really taking him serious. And then maybe like a couple weeks later, he sends me another message. And at this point, we're still talking pretty consistently on Instagram. We still do not have each other's numbers. And he sends me a message. He said, hey, I have a work conference coming up in Monaco and I would love for you to come. And I read that message and I was like near the south of France, like that Monaco. And he was like, yeah, like I can get you your flight and everything will be taken care of. And I was like, okay, well, give me some time to think about it because I didn't want to say yes on the spot, but I was like, okay, this is something I definitely want to consider. So I thought about it for a while. I talked to my friends about it. I talked to my sisters about it. At first I was like, I don't think I'm going to do it. Like, this is crazy. And then over time, I started like talking myself into it. And then one morning I woke up and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go to Monaco. So I sent him a message and I said, hey, I've decided I'm going to come to Monaco. And he sends me a message. He said, this is the best day ever. I'm so happy. Send me your passport and everything. I'll book the flight. So I sent him a picture of my passport. And I also was like, oh, and by the way, here's my phone number. He was like, I've been waiting for you to give this to me for now, like weeks. And I said, okay, here you go. Thank you for like inviting me on this trip. So I give him my phone number and he sends me a message and he said, it took you long enough. And I said, oh yeah, well, sorry. I'm just a little bit more reserved when it comes to like dating and men. Like, I just like to make sure like I'm a very intentional person. And he was just so respectful to me. I remember when he was booking the flights and everything, he was like, don't worry, like, I'll get you your own hotel room. Like, he was just being so respectful. And so I remember our very first phone call so perfectly because it came completely out of the blue. Is like on like a Tuesday and I'm out sitting at my work desk and he sends me a message. He's like, can I call you? I was like, oh, he wants to call me. And I'm like, I literally discombobulated, freaking out. Like, what am I gonna do when this man actually calls me? But I was like, you need to get together. So he calls me, answer the phone. And he's actually in a cab to the airport. He's about to go on a work trip. And he was. We were just small, talking about our day. And I felt like those like butterflies that I felt whenever we had been together at dinner in Croatia. And I remember getting off the phone with him and I was just sitting there like cheesing, like, which I don't ever do. And I was just, this guy is special. And he sent me a message. He was like, you are so cute. Like, I love talking to you. And I said, I love talking to you too. And so basically from that moment on, we just started talking on the phone all the time, like for 1 hour, 2 hours a day. We started talking about a lot of things, about a lot of different aspects of our lives. Um, he was telling me that, he was living in Copenhagen. He was living in this condo. Obviously, he knew that I lived in Dallas. And then we started talking about past relationships, and I told him I was very honest. I said, I actually haven't had like a truly serious relationship before. I have always been a very independent person, but I do want to meet someone. I do want to like get married and have kids, but I don't feel like that pressure to like force it. Like I have such a great example with my parents, and I really want to have like an amazing love in this lifetime. And so I'm going to take my time to find that. And I asked him like, what's your history with your dating? And he was like, yeah, well, I actually was in a relationship with a girl, and we were together for about 4 years. And I actually broke up with her about 4 months before I met you. And I said, oh my gosh, like the 4 years is a long time. He said, yeah, like it needed to happen for a while. And really what happened was that she told him that she was ready to have kids and he wasn't ready to have kids. And I guess that forced him to realize that she wasn't the one. And they were living together. So it was like a really hard situation to get out of, but he finally was able to do so. And so I was happy to hear that it had been about 4 months since they broke up. Because if he had said like they had just broken up, I would have been a little bit more hesitant to pursue things, because I know like you go through a breakup, you need time to heal. But I felt like, okay, 4 months should be enough time. And then we started talking about like our families a little bit too. I told him I'm super close with my family. He said, I'm really close with my mom and my little sister. I do have an older sister that I don't talk to. And basically something happened, and she was like being like physically abusive, verbally, physically abusive towards his mom. And he decided to cut her out of his life because she's crazy. And I said, listen, I get that. That makes sense. Like, you should not have her in your life. And I think just like over the course of a month, we just were talking on the phone for just hours. And I tell people all the time that it felt like we fell in love over the phone, because from the time that I had decided to go to Monaco to the time that I actually left for Monaco, it was a month. And we had this plan that we weren't going to FaceTime at all because we wanted the next time we saw each other to be in person, which I thought at the time was super romantic. And so, we're sorry. We start talking about like hypotheticals. I remember he told me one day, he said, if we ever end up getting married, you're going to meet the queen. And I remember just like laughing at that comment. And he said, no, I'm being serious. And I said, what do you mean? I'll meet the queen. And he said, well, my family has a royal title. And I was like, wait, what? And he sent me this link to this site. It's called the Order of the Elephants. And he said, you can do some research and then we can talk about it. And I said, okay. So I start going through the page that he sent me, and I see someone that had the same last name as him, like some old guy from like the 1700s. And I remember taking a screenshot and I said, is this your great-great-grandpa? And he goes, now you're getting on track. My next question to you is, how's your etiquette? And I was like, I think it's okay. And so I'm sitting here like, who is this man? He's attractive. He has a great job. He has a royal title. Like, is there anything wrong with him at this point? And I have always believed in the term, it's too good to be true. But and I was feeling that 100%. Like, I felt like, when's the other shoe gonna drop? But it didn't drop that first month. It was just like, we truly fell in love over the phone. And so we are getting closer and closer to the trip to Monaco. And I start packing, and I feel like that's like when the nerves start hitting me, was when I'm packing, like, oh my goodness, this is actually happening. And I remember my sister was like, you put air tags and like at all your bags. And I'm like, I don't need to put air tags in anything. Like, I trust this man. I know, like, it's gonna be okay. Like, every part of me felt like so safe with him already, which was crazy because I hadn't really spent much time with him. Maybe this is trauma from being on The Bachelor, I'm not sure. but I felt very safe with him. And so the day comes where I'm supposed to go on the trip. And so I order my Uber, get to the airport, and I felt like it was kind of like a good sign because I posted that I was at
Artlist.io.
DFW, and one of my really good girlfriends texted me. That lives in a different state. She was like, "Hey, I'm actually in DFW too." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." So she comes meet me at my terminal. She's like, "Where are you going?" I go, "I'm actually going to Monaco to meet this guy that I met in Croatia." And
Music
she was like,
licensing
"This is
reimagined.
insane." And so I just felt like seeing that friend was like a good sign. I don't know why. And I ended up just boarding the flight. I remember boarding that first flight. I had a layover in Madrid, but boarding that first flight, I was sitting there and I was like, this shit is really happening. And all the nerves are just taking over, but I'm like, take a chill pill. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna get there. It's gonna be fine. And at that point, I was like,
Artlist.io.
okay, the worst thing that happens is like, he's a crazy person, and I have enough money where I can like just book my own hotel and I'll just have a good time by myself. Like, it'll be fine. So I like had that backup plan, but yeah, I had my layover in Madrid, and then my next flight was to Nice. And so I boarded my flight to
Music
Nice.
licensing
It was like a
reimagined.
really quick flight, and I get to Nice. I land, I get my bags and baggage claim. I send him a text. I said, I'm here, and I am. I'm rolling both of my bags, about to walk out, freaking out.